Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Atmos Community Podcast. Today, I have a very special guest with me, Damien. He's actually one of our launch partners for Discussions too. So we're very excited to bring him on and let him tell you a little bit about what he's doing and how his contribution to Discussions is going to benefit your token holding as well. So, Damien, why don't you give a brief introduction of yourself?
Sweet. Oh yeah, firstly, thanks very much for having us, Jax. It's great to be here. So my name's Damien. I'm the founder and CEO of PUML Better Health. And our vision is to make the world move more, get people active and healthy, and at the same time, hopefully improve their wealth as well.
Very cool, very cool. Yeah, I mean, we don't see a whole lot of projects that are doing health on the blockchain. So it was when you first popped up on a radar, I was really curious to learn about what your project's doing because I think a lot of people kind of have this idea that crypto is like really for the really nerdy type, and not for an average person who just wants to go to gym, especially after like the New Year's. But why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you are related to this project in terms of your background.
Yeah, well, for starters, I'm not really a fitness buff. My background is engineering, and I spent a lot of time in the UK working quite a lot of large corporates, doing web development, and then moving into sort of mobile app development. I sort of found my niche around building, delivering projects, sort of early adopter to agile methodology, and delivering things quite quickly, and also an adopter of the AWS cloud. And I suppose we started working particularly with music and video. So I worked quite a lot for Virgin. We delivered multiple projects over there as well. And that's where I sort of started my first, I suppose you could call it a side hustle. So I would be working sort of pretty long hours at Virgin as a typical engineer. And my diet was pretty bad, the usual Red Bull Jägermeister at night to keep up, and coffees and muffins for breakfast in the morning. And I was quite young, and I was still active in doing things, but I sort of started to see my health decline over about a period of 2.5 years, which it was ultimately when I was running this side hustle, building my first startup on the side of working full time, which is what a lot of founders do, I think. And I think sort of founder wellness and well-being is something that people are just only coming to grips with now and starting to recognize. Yeah. But ultimately, I suppose the idea and the platform came from that. Out the back of that first startup was like, I felt pretty drained and lethargic, and I was just sort of stopped any type of physical exercise. And I found it really hard when you get into that pattern to get the motivation to start moving again, things like that. I've also always had this idea of data, and I love the idea of constant improvement, and actually being able to see your results either improve or degrade over time. So yeah, I had that idea for a while, but it's pretty big and audacious, which is, can you collect all the information about you as a person over your lifestyle, or over your lifetime, I should say, and try and get some really interesting results about it. So I suppose those sort of two things came together, and this is officially my sort of second project after exiting from my first startup.
Cool. Have you kind of ever since you start working on the project, have you seen your health improve? Is that something you noticed? Just to yourself on yourself?
It's a really good question, and so that's what I tell myself, that not that we're ever going to fail, but if we were, at least I've sort of improved my health at the very least, because I've got involved quite heavily with having a personal trainer and a coach, going to the gym, and I find all these extra things are actually enough to sort of get me working and can be busy and things like that.
I see.
So yeah, that's definitely a great thing.
Well, you're off to a great New Year's, that's for sure. I think a lot of people are hitting the gym right about now. So
yeah, exactly.
And your application is going to come out soon. We're going to get to that in just a bit, but I do want to do a little bit more background, which is how did you get to crypto? Like what got you into the cryptocurrency space?
Yeah, it's actually one of my engineers who worked for me at Virgin that sort of started to look into it. Started mining quite early on in 2011, so it's pretty early. And then I suppose 2012, 2013, I started to mine, and I had a couple of dedicated miners and things like that. But it was at the same time as I was building my first startup, as I spoke about. So I
Mhm.
was somewhat more committed to making the success of my startup rather than mining. So that's sort of
Yeah.
one of the hindsights, as in if I had continued to sort of stay close to the crypto community at that time would have been interesting. But I suppose I did a circle around back in 2017, 2018, when obviously there was a lot of hype. And ultimately, that's when I sort of started to look at this previous idea of health and fitness and blockchain, and with Ethereum launching and having this ability to do smart contracts, and then obviously a number of other blockchains, it really started to sort of inspire me from a technology point of view of, we can actually build a decentralized app. We can actually give people ownership of their own data and things like that. So that's what sort of started as planning this.
Yeah, yeah. So I was gonna ask you, why did you? You mentioned you brought up that there were different blockchain platforms. You know, Ethereum being the most popular one of them. So why did you decide to build on EOS instead of Ethereum?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and it wasn't a choice that we sort of made lightly. We did spend quite a lot of time doing some due diligence around both Ethereum and EOS, and it was really, I suppose, a colleague of mine who was part of the hackathon in Australia, the EOS hackathon,
Oh,
and to
really?
actually sort of, to actually sort of see a smart contract working and the
Yeah.
ability for it to actually do things, particularly the speed and the cost. Ultimately, we're looking at building a mass adoption app,
Hmm.
one that has a really low barrier of entry and one that can be consumed by literally millions of users. So when you do the analytics on the costs of gas versus staking, then
Yeah.
EOS was really the only choice for us.
Yeah, yeah. I couldn't agree more with what you guys the conclusion you guys arrived. I mean, I'm kind of preaching to choir, but I have looked into building on the various different platforms as well. And Ethereum, I think they're doing a lot of very interesting stuff, but in terms of building application that the everyday average person could use, is still quite far from that.
Yeah,
Uh,
the other thing that's worth mentioning though, which is because there are a lot of blockchains out there, but I'm also quite commercially minded, and I think that having Blockone, quite supportive of the platform, and
mhm.
obviously investing internally of having a big dev team as well is obviously something that also adds weight to the blockchain or the protocol. And I think the relationships that they build will obviously benefit every project or every dApp that's building on top of it as well. So that was also sort of, it wasn't just the tech, it's also like the commercial element of EOS is really interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I know we're kind of getting a little bit away from the original interview, but obviously we both really huge fans of what Block is doing in EOS ecosystem. We know that EOS has their own VC fund, and that's like um, I think the EOS community and the EOS the Block company is much more business minded, and I think that's attracted a lot of people like yourself that are a lot more business minded versus just pure technology, which is a lot of the Ethereum crowd.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, I agree with that. And the benefit of that is, we've seen, what do we have? A bear market in 12 months, 2019, and what was actually delivered that was usable for your friends and family, people outside the crypto community. It really wasn't much, to be honest. And I think, it's going to only benefit all blockchains, the more sort of mass production apps that can actually be built, because it's going to bring in a much wider community. And as we said before, when you've got that commercial element, then ultimately that sort of leads to adoption, and revenue and all those good things where people want to be involved.
Yeah, so right on that topic, why do you guys have a token and what is the utility of the token?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we pitch ourselves as sort of trying to do two things, I suppose, with our platform, and the wider question of why blockchain in the first place.
Hmm.
So on one hand, we're trying to incentivize people to be healthy and active, and we're trying to gamify fitness through active challenges. So the token is like a reward mechanism and allows us to sort of reward people for completing challenges, and also for potentially staking to change behavior around improving your health and fitness. So we've got that sort of piece on one side, but the real reason for blockchain and EOS.io has got to do with the data and building a distributed health and fitness record that brings in all the data from wearables such as Fitbit, Garmin, Apple Health, and other third-party tools into one place that you own and you control, and you can essentially opt in to share that data with health providers, insurance companies, or research companies in exchange again for our token, which we call micro rewards. So the token's still like an important part of the ecosystem as a rewards mechanism and as a utility to essentially have the digital health and fitness record.
Okay, cool. So, that's very interesting. So if these insurance companies or healthcare companies want to access my healthcare data, they will have to kind of pay me through the PUML token in order to access it. And I have,
That's exactly right, yeah.
okay, and I could decide whether or not to share with them in exchange for tokens that they offer me.
Yeah, so it could be to reduce your health insurance, so you might share that data, but it could also be like a research company that's trying to look at, say, 25 to 35-year-old women who have gone through X, Y, and Z. And so you're providing your data to help improve research. And so there's like a micro token reward on that as well.
Cool, cool. Very cool. And also notice you guys, so, obviously I mentioned before that things like incentivized health and fitness applications are few, but that doesn't mean there aren't any. And then another approach, a very unique approach I see that you're taking is you're not just kind of going directly after the everyday average person. Maybe you do have a plan for that, but it seems like you're working through the companies and helping companies offer incentives for the employees in order to onboard people. Can you go a little bit into why you think that's a better approach, perhaps?
Yeah, well, I think probably the basic premise of what we're trying to achieve is like every single person is an athlete. We want people to start thinking about that. And just like an athlete gets sponsored, we want every single member on our platform to be sponsored by someone. So that sponsor primarily could be your corporate company. So they sponsor all their employees to be healthier and to be mentally more alert by exercising X number of times per week. It could also, though, be the local gym that wants to sponsor its members to be more active and come, rather than once a week, more like 3 to 4 times a week. It can even be a council or a government who's trying to sponsor their local constituents to be more active and more healthy. So there's always this sponsor element. From a strategic point of view, the corporate wellness is quite interesting because we can sort of overlay existing platforms and help bring a level of gamification into that corporate atmosphere and actually provide rewards. So a lot of corporate wellness platforms don't necessarily have a reward scheme, and they don't necessarily have that sort of fun gamification element to it as well.
I see. So let's get into what your plans are in terms of making that come true. And I really like what you said about you see every single individual as a athlete, and athletes as sponsors. And I never saw it that way, but I think that's an interesting angle to take. I mean, I actually used to be a professional athlete. I was a swimming instructor. So,
there you go.
yeah, I was never into wearables, but I think I might get one just to try your application out when it is online.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you can use your phone as well. So we'll integrate without a wearable, but obviously it's slightly more accurate when we bring that in. And yeah, we obviously are going to add additional challenges like heart rate challenges and things like that where you do actually need a wearable.
Cool.
But yeah, sign up, Jack. Sign up.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna be the first one to do so. So let me tell us what your plans are in terms of development, in terms of marketing. I heard you guys are going to a big event. That's when you're gonna show off to the world what you guys been doing. So let us in a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we've obviously been developing for a long time. Obviously, it takes longer than expected, but I think, the benefits of that is we are going to be able to deliver something that is really compelling to people. And we also are, building a production version that can actually go into enterprise clients. So it's not just like a MVP or, just getting something out in the community. It's something that we'll be charging for. So that's why it has sort of taken quite a long time for development. But yeah, we're going to be launching our beta, which I'm very excited to say, this year at a big event here in Australia called Code. And that's happening in March. So we're going to be launching our iOS app there and doing a little activation where we're going to have like an event there where people who walk around the event the most will be rewarded in our tokens. And we'll obviously have some winners who will also get prizes and be able to redeem crypto as well. So it's super exciting.
Very cool, very cool. And that's going to be happening in early March or late March?
Late March, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Cool. So in terms of other stuff, I know there's a bunch of things I still want to bring up. Is you guys have some partnerships with NYU? There's some grants that you guys got from Amazon. So let us in on kind of the other stuff that that you guys have been up to and have been building up.
Yeah, last year was super busy for us as every year, but yeah, we actually did 2 accelerators last year back to back. So the first one, we got into the University of Queensland EQ Ventures Accelerator, and that was in partnership with Hypespin, which is a sports tech company. So that was a 3-month accelerator, which was super exciting. We got access to University of Queensland, their mentors in the startup space and the entrepreneurial space. And, we learned quite a lot through that process. And off the back of that, we went directly into a specific blockchain accelerator that was run in association with New York University and Hype Capital as well. And so that was super exciting to fly over to New York and, be able to pitch our product in front of some pretty hard hitters. Some amazing health and fitness and sports investors and industry people who, we just wouldn't get access to here in Australia. So that was amazing. And yeah, we're super excited. That's obviously just the start of the journey. So now that we've been through those processes, it's really time to deliver on, getting our distributed app launched and then sort of going back and developing more partnerships for those. And along the process, we've won a number of grants and things like that with, Amazon, AWS supporting us, Stripe, and many of those startup things. So that's sort of really been helpful to us as well.
Very cool, very cool. Yeah, NYU is my old uni actually, and I actually was helping.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I was helping them to run their entrepreneurship club back when I was in uni. So I know quite a few of those guys, and they don't joke around when they ask you when they put you on the stage and grill you on in questions. So very happy to survive that. So yeah.
Cool.
So I think that's mostly it. Obviously we're gonna have Damien being one of our partners. We're gonna have him on a lot more. We're gonna invite him to come join our weekly meetings in the future, kind of give us an update on what his project's up to. So you're gonna be seeing a lot of Damien in the future. But for now, Damien, where can we find you? Well, obviously other than on discussions/tag/PUML, where else can we find you on the internet?
Yeah, the main website is just PUML.io. And most of our socials, including our contract and everything, like Twitter is PUML Health IO, and Telegram's PUML Official. So all of those links are on our website. So come along. We're doing quite a lot of competitions at the moment, sort of helping the community prior to the launch. So yeah, if you're interested into health and fitness, and obviously EOS, then come join our community and share our journey, because I think it's going to be an exciting one.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be exciting. And we are going to have Damien come on and do an AMA. That's one of the kind of rite of passage you have to do as a launch partner. So you're going to have to check that box. And we are going to be running a lot of events that, kind of encourage the health and fitness members of our community to engage with the project. So I want to thank you very much again for coming on, Damien, and I look forward to talking to you in the future.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Jax, for having me. That was awesome. And thanks to everyone in the community.